Alternative reality games, sometimes known as transmedia narratives, use interactive network narratives that use the real world as a platform and employ this transmedia storytelling to deliver a story that may be altered by the player's ideas and actions. The form is defined by intense player involvement in the story and takes place in real time and evolves according to players' responses. Some say the main adage of an ARG is the term, "This is not a game." And walkthroughs of these ARGs are found all over YouTube by people speaking in mysterious voices like this, with mysterious music behind it. But you see, this isn't that type of video. You see, this is a video for someone creating an ARG. And not only creating an ARG, but trying to do one in 24 hours for the Liverpool Comic Convention. Now, if you decide to look at many of these ARG videos on YouTube, many absolutely brilliant, you'll find in the comments people saying such things as, "I wish I could give this a go. I wish I had the talent to do this, or the money to do this, or the skills to do this, or a team to do this." Well, we do this in your honour. Now, to do something in 24 hours, thought it might be issue with tech, which would mess up and have to deal with it, which we did. Or it would really test our skills and we'd lose sleep, which we did. But one thing we didn't expect was to nearly be arrested. Welcome to the 24-hour ARG challenge for Liverpool Comic Con. So, who the hell are we? We are But Why Theatre. We create immersive theatre, interactive work. Essentially, we've been doing ARGs, or forms of ARGs, for many years now. And who the hell am I? I'm Tom. I'm the only honest person in the world to combine mind reading and escapology. So, I have weird and odd knowledge of interesting psychological facts. And here's the first one for you. We fear loss 100 times more than we think about gain. So, if you rang up a billionaire in the middle of the night, first of all I'd ask about your social life of how you even got such a phone number. But if you rang them up and said, "I can make you £20,000, they'd scream at you, probably some expletives, and hang up. But if you rang the same person in the middle of the night and said you're about to lose £20,000, no matter how much money they had, they would get out of that bed, because we fear loss. So, talk about fear of loss. In 24 hours, the entire Liverpool docks would be full of cosplayers, beautiful nerds, and people willing to play such a fascinating and unique story. So, if we're gonna lose out on that, talk about a motivator. Prelude. Why are we doing this? How the hell we always get ourselves in this mess? So, every year when we create immersive work, we sometimes do work for conventions. And every single year we send an email out to the Liverpool Comic Convention. Then we wait. And wait. And wait. And usually get no response. And then we think, screw it, let's game jack and just go out there and do something anyway. And we've done this for a few years now, but this year slightly crept up on us. This year gave us just over 24 hours. So we thought, screw it, let's turn this into a 24-hour challenge. Now, who's working on this project? There's me, who already self-described, and my dear friend O'Sheen, who actually I met and taught him about ARG, but that's a story for another time. So, first challenge. We need a good hook. The thing that draws you in, the thing that makes you want to be a player. Because without the game part of an ARG, it's more of an alternative reality series of websites no one's looking at. Not as catchy, right? So, full credit to O'Sheen on this one. The comic convention is at the docks, right by the beautiful Mersey. And as we were discussing, I brought up about the liver birds, which are at the end of the docks, which they are quite literally a story for another time also, for they have a lot of history and mystery around them. But, pool of water, a load of nerds, mythicalness. O'Sheen's brain clicked. Now, it might be because of his love of eldritchness, D&D-ness, or just the fact that if you look at pretty much any culture, there's always something mysterious in the deep. So, that is our narrative. There is something underneath the Mersey which is going to unleash itself in the 48 hours. There seemed like there was enough steam in this idea to get the cogs flowing, to start to think about how we can put together the rest of this narrative. Now we're at an end point, we know where we're aiming towards, but we needed to think of that hook, that inciting incident that got players playing. So, first we needed a protagonist, or we needed character for you to interact with, and second of all we actually need to get down to the location. And both is solved by entering with the Mavros Paranormal Detective Agency. If you saw our Burning Man show, this would mean a lot to you. If you're me and Oisin, that would mean a lot to you. If you came to our last Halloween show, that would mean a lot to you. But probably, if you don't know any of that, it doesn't mean that much to you. Let's explain. Hour 1, introducing the Paranormal Detective Agency, scouting out the location, and taking a bunch of dodgy photos, which makes us look like weirdos to tourists. Now, before we continue, I do need to give a content warning. We decided to go rock climbing before this to get the energy flowing, and my hair looks absolutely insane. In most of these videos, you have been warned. Okay guys, back to the main video. So the reason we keep bringing back Mavros, the Paranormal Detective Agency, aside from the fact we've already got a cool logo and love pretending to be noir detectives solving paranormal cases, which we think is a really cool twist, which not many people have done before, is the fact that it's incredibly helpful as protagonists for an ARG, and that's our next ARG tip. Make sure your characters are in some way investigators or detectives, so if you don't get the number of people that you expected, or it doesn't quite hit the mark, your characters can still solve these mysteries, can still solve these puzzles, progress the narrative. Now, we head straight to the docks. Big thanks to Jack, who can be the only one of our mates who can really drive, and he's an amazing actor, and helped us park for free, so we save money. Yeah, take that, Entertainment 42. You might have 9 Inch Nails and Dark Knight ARG, but we save money through parking. So we head down. Now, this is the only issue we're trying to explain what happens in 24 hours, is that we can be at one place and have 40 different ideas, which is including the middle part, the end part, right before the beginning, post-show, pre-show. So it can all be quite confusing, but these were the initial thoughts that we found. Which leads to an ultimate tip when it comes to problem solving. Remember, form always dictates content. If you're ever stuck, think about the form. So, if this is some kind of paranormal detective agency, how are we bringing people in? Well, we would get a case file right, something which would put us on the smell of the trail, which would get us moving towards our end goal of the creature underneath the Mersey. Perhaps someone had a dead man switch that he had to activate every night, otherwise this video is released. And because it hasn't, this video has now been released. That would be great, but that's still what we're putting on the landing page. That's still step 2. We still need that hook to actually get people to interact with us, to get people on that starting page. So what could the hook be? How do we stand out? We're about to go to a Comic Con full of people in cosplay. How do you stand out? And everyone is trying to stand out. Then it leads to the second problem. You see, we're not actually paying to go into the Comic Con. As you can see, we're trying our best to keep this super low budget as possible. And in the past years, there wasn't any gates stopping people from the Comic Con and not the Comic Con. There were people at the doors who couldn't get in, totally valid, but it meant you could actually mingle with people. And this year we can see that they stuck bars and gates everywhere. So, how could we stand out? What would you do? Well, this is what we did. First of all, we played with the idea of the familiar. We thought we could get chalk. We could chalk an outline of a body. Then we could stand by that, and hopefully, as we put the chalk between what seems to be 2 gates, maybe someone would, then we could get signs saying, the Mavros Paranormal Detective Agency needs you, and a little QR code or a little link, so people could then approach us, and then once we approach them, we can obviously have that human interaction. And human interaction is so powerful, which means we could get players in through that. However, we realise that right now, although they're setting up the gates, you could still walk through where we'll be cordoned off tomorrow.
So we're like, it's got a bag. We could talk about the contents of his bag, to which Jack responded, what's only a body. But in the game...
Now, before we continue and we get to that surprise and we move on and get to how we nearly got arrested, let's have a quick sideline. Now, some of you might be thinking, a monster under the deep. Oh, and a video which says, reading this, I'm gone. Oh, and maybe there might be something to do with a cult, because isn't there always something to do with a cult when you've got some kind of Eldritch style beast? Isn't this all quite stereotypical? And this is a very valid question, but it's something to discuss. So, it is kind of a running joke with all of the slow talking ARG people that it always ends up a cult, or it always ends up with someone missing, or, and there's always seems to be this list of tropes or stereotypes when it comes to ARGs. Same with movies, same with television. So how do you avoid that? Well, for years when I started out, that's all I ever worried about. How can I avoid this sort of thing? How can I make something so unique? Because the problem with inventing something completely new is, although it can be very arty or very avant-garde and different, and you will definitely find nuance in some respect, there's always a fear, as mentioned before, about fear of loss. There's also a fear that you might be doing something wrong, but people might not interact because they don't quite understand. So here's 2 really useful bits of advice. First of all, when creating immersive work and when creating ARG work, always try and take something familiar and make it unfamiliar. For example, you could do something with a phone box, right? People might walk past phone boxes every single day, but if they pick up the phone call and they hear it's a secret agent and they need your help, right? It's taking something familiar, making it unfamiliar. But also, if you start ringing up these phone boxes, people are going to answer them, and naturally, like-minded adventurous people anyway, you're already finding an audience which might be interested. So always think about taking things that people already understand and twisting them and diverting them. And that's the thing about stereotype, and that's the thing about trope. It's our job to put a lighter under them, to burn at them and work out why. Why is this used all the time? So for example, take the video, the dead drop video, the if you're reading this, I might be gone type video. It's used plenty of times. However, it's useful for creating excitement, for creating mystery, for giving exposition, but in a powerful and different way. But it also can be boring, it can be trite, it can be so obviously done before. So how do we change that up? Let's look at what makes that video useful and what doesn't. And then you can either lean against the things that make it bad and create a sort of breaking the fourth wall and get your audience interested with a wink as if you know what you're doing, or you can try to make it different and unique to you. But never worry about such things as stereotype and trope. Think about how and why they're there and how you can break down and make it better. Or you can really burn at the elements that don't work and try to make it something entirely your own. Also, talking of stereotype in general, sometimes stereotypes are terrible, don't get me wrong, but that's the whole point of burning at it. If we take, for example, it's a horrible joke about someone who's disabled, and that's been used as an ongoing joke for years. By putting a lighter under it, we realise it's because people haven't spoken in that community before, and that's how you fix that issue. So, food for thought. And one final thing, talking of exposition, that is the biggest fear, especially when doing something in 24 hours, is the great thing about ARGs is you can give it time, right? You can reveal a bit of information, give a puzzle, then give some time, then reveal some more information. And it doesn't feel like you're just getting a load of info dumps. And that's kind of the useful thing about puzzles, is you can block out what seem like info dumps if they weren't there. However, how can we do something like this within 24 hours? How can we give you exposition or give you stories where it isn't just you reading a bunch of blurb? So this is why you can think about video, you can think about audio, and the most useful advice I can give you is always hide exposition through conflict. Think about it. Have you ever seen a heist film? It doesn't make sense for all of them to sit around and go, we know what we're doing tonight, right? You break through this, you break through that. Because you just go, why are they telling you this? However, you can make the scene far more interesting by going, I don't agree with you. What? I don't agree with you. I don't think we can break through this thing in 30 seconds. No, we can. Listen. Insert how they do the heist here, so we know as an audience. So think about creating conflict. So back to the docs. If we decided there's going to be a chalk outline of a body, that means we actually need a body. Thank Jack once again as he lies there making tourists look at us weirdly as we take a bunch of photos. I have an epiphany. I think it'd be amazing if we could build a website. We could click on the different parts of his body and like zoom in, get some evidence, get some information, and maybe solve puzzles. So that was my go-to thing that I really wanted to get done. But obviously in 24 hours maybe I couldn't get done as well as I could. That was my plan. So we needed to get to the pound shop and get chalk. Also, we're thinking if the gates aren't completely blocked off right now, we can go inside where we won't be able to get tomorrow and start doing other chalk things there. It's coming, it's arriving, really playing about with what we can do in the space. So, with that in mind, we get heading off. Hour 2 to 7. The grunt work and an unforeseen circumstance. So we bomb to the pound shop, get massive pieces of chalk that's going to make us look like the borrowers later, and then we head to one of our houses to get the grunt work done. The mass amount of websites, the things that make an ARG a true ARG. Now some ARGs have hundreds and hundreds of websites, but most of them don't have, as we've already previously mentioned, 24 hours, or, well, 22 hours left. So we thought 3 websites. 3 solid websites which you can keep coming back to and finding new things differently when you explore, creating minimalism, but through that excitement. So let's talk about minimalism for a second. It doesn't scream ARG usually, I know, but with this you can create really powerful work. Through restriction comes creativity. If you can only create 3 websites, how can you think about using them in different parts of the ARG? Or if you've got a landing page, how can they come back later and notice different things from it? How can you basically take what is an object and then hide that object in the narrative, and then bring that object back again within the narrative in unique and interesting ways? Which leads to another tip. Have a good landing page. Have a good central point. Be it a Twitter page, so if you've ever got lost, you can always go back to the same point. So with us, we decided on WordPress. We decided if you are joining and we're recruiting Mavros members because we're lost in this case, then it would be perfect to start with a recruitment page. So strangers might be writing this website in and immediately seeing it, so we need to grab your attention, saying we need your help, tiny little description of who we are, not too much, not overwhelmed, and then the audio from Jack. Also a shout out to Jack. He got a little overwhelmed with the time limit, and he still managed to get this done, so he's a legend. He's really going to be a video, but he does an audio, which I think works, so thank you for that, Jack. So, you've got the audio telling you about the case, leaning you in, getting you excited about it. Then, a little contact form, you signing up officially as a member. So, with that in mind, let's talk about user-generated content and the foot in the door technique. Two really powerful things to enhance any ARG. Let's go. User-generated content, or UGC, is splattered all through different alternative reality games. It's very powerful for a few reasons. One being that usually if it's a big company that's trying to sell something or advertise a film, getting a load of people to dress up as a superhero and take a photo at major landmarks and put it all over social media, is a very useful way to advertise their stuff and show how many players are playing. Secondly, because as human beings, we learn from people around us. It's a form of influence. If you see other people doing it, you feel you could chance that you might do it. And the third one is, it's a really powerful way of creating either a puzzle or an interesting sort of, I guess a way to look at it is in a way like a more of a fun dare, right? You've got to go and write "It's coming" in chalk outside your house, or you've got to light a candle at midnight and chant something, right? There's different ways of, obviously, depending on your narrative, of bringing in user-generated content. But for people who are maybe getting burnt out from puzzles, become puzzle solving, because you've got to think about people who play ARGs. There's loads of different types of players. Player types is definitely a video for another time. Or say it with me now, a story for another time. But let's keep it really simple. Let's just say, as minimalist as possible, that there's people who absolutely love puzzle solving, and there's people who love the stories but get freaked out by the puzzles. Creating user-generated content, which is that we need to upload 30 photos of people doing a certain pose which activates a magic ritual up to this website. When 30 is done, it unlocks the next thing. Not only does it allow people to bring in characters more, but also it means that people who aren't enjoying the puzzles as much still feel they can engage, still feel they have agency. Now, agency is how much control you think you have over a situation. And agency is what makes immersive work absolutely powerful and fascinating, and what makes ARGs also amazing and fascinating, because your choices should affect the story, and you should truly feel as a player that that is what's happening, because otherwise, what's the point of you playing? Everyone, come on, at the end of the day, really wants to be the superhero a little, right? So, this leads us nicely to the foot in the door technique. Now, I always flippantly say, if you want to create a show where you get the entire audience naked, by the end, you've got to at least make sure they take off their socks in Act 1. That's the foot in the door technique. It's known that because of door-to-door salesmen who would stick their foot in the door to try and get into your house to talk about products. It's also known as gradual commitment. Start small, then build up. So, always bear this in mind when asking anyone to do anything within your work. And the best work, talking of minimalism and objects reappearing, is that you'll take that first ask, and actually the second, third and fourth and fifth asks will be a slightly larger version of that original ask. So it not only works thematically, but it means that you're preparing the person, you're preparing the player to do more interesting things and get them excited to do it. So let's look at what we did on the Mavros page. So we made some cool graphics that you could easily download and stick onto social media, saying you're now a paranormal detective agency member. It also means that your friends will hopefully jump on board, and we're expanding it from the in-person meets to wider reach on the internet for entry points to people to come give it a go. But also asking you to post something on to help us is the first little ask from you as a player, which will hopefully then be expanded later on. Now, I could go into the minutiae of building puzzles, I could go into the minutiae of other little psychological tricks and tips that we've done, and that could go on forever. However, let's just stick to some really simple things. First of all, especially if you're doing it in a very short space of time. Beta test it, either with just friends who are online or with each other, because just making stuff more user-friendly is incredibly important. Now I can hear some of you screaming, but that's the point of ARGs, creating big puzzles that you need 5,000 people to help solve. Why are you making stuff user-friendly? Well, valid counter-argument. Here's my counter to that counter. I'm just arguing myself right now. But there's a difference between a puzzle that you're intrigued and want to solve, and rage quitting because you don't even understand how to use a website. Doubly so with if you're going up to people and asking them to just put a website in, or they're clicking on this mysterious link because you're putting it out into the internet in a mysterious way. There are players who are up front and doing it and are more user and internet savvy, but there are people who are worried because they're coming across something they haven't quite seen before, so make that easier for them. Also, that's why we created various little boxes where you could send in and we would get an email saying if you were stuck at any point, because we don't want to lose those players. You know, they're at Comic Con, they've got so much other stuff going on. If they were sat in the comfort of their own house, then they might have all the time in the world to solve these things and we wouldn't lose them. But there's so many other things which you could lose them with. My next ARG tip: you will absolutely freaking hate technology by the end of it. See, this is the biggest issue, is you're creating a page which probably then links to another page, which links to another page, which links to another place. So when you're starting off, you have to make a first page and say click here to continue, or a button, or whatever in-world thing you're going to do. But that doesn't actually link to anything, because you haven't made any other pages. You have to make all the other pages, and then you've got to make sure once you've done all that, they all link back to each other. And when you click on number 1, it leads to number 2, and so on. And you will somehow, page 3 won't load anymore and will crash. Here's an example. You'll click on what you think will lead to page 4, that actually leads to page 7. Page 7 is somehow linking to something completely different, but it's fine. This is why you call upon your friends, and this is, oh wait, this is when the unexpected thing happened. See, Oshin got up incredibly early, before even doing any of this. He went rock climbing, then we were running about getting these props, and we started these websites. Oshin fell asleep. So I power through. I make a paranormal police website that you have to hack into. That's when I work on the body part pictures. It's not quite as well as I wanted it to do, and I really wish I could have laid it out so it is like you're clicking the whole body, but it's still pretty good, thinking how little time I've got. Then I make a web page to an online newspaper. A newspaper set in this paranormal world. This works at a few levels. One, because you're hacking in to read the various pages written by Jack, who's disappeared. 2, because it means that we can create this page for a newspaper that people can come back to, and we can write summaries of things that have happened with the days, which is another great tip. Creating a website or a blog or something in world means that you can summarize events that happen, from people creating UGC, from people doing things, respond and make the game different. I mean, just look at some of the large scale ARGs. They always have some way of creating a summary or an email that's sent out, so if people feel like they've missed out on a day, you can still jump straight back into it. But it also means that this website will come back round again and again for people to check, and it creates a very logical way to create this information reveal of Jack's character. And then finally I asked for a UGC thing which unlocks to the big finale. But what actually will be the big finale? I mean, we don't have a budget to create a monster unleashed and the Mersey. We kind of know where we're going, but time's running out, and I'm freaking out. Now Oshin's asleep, and I'm just barely finishing these websites, and there's technical issues. And what am I going to... And then it happened. Oshin woke up. Well, more realistically, Oshin got shaken awake by his girlfriend, who happened to be watching an episode of Modern Family at the time where a character said, and I quote, "Honey, if you're having third act problems, then you're having first act problems," and it clicked. That idea of minimalism again, bringing back an object that I already shown you, which was hidden and revealed again, and I knew what to do for a third act. I had no idea if I had enough time to do it, and we still had a hell of a lot more work to do. But as a groggy Oshin came back, he said, "Get it done in the morning if you have to, because it's time to go chalking." And that's exactly what we did, which leads to this. Hour 8 to 10, 14 hours to go, where we go out chalking, create hype, and nearly get arrested. Now, I'm just going to kind of let these clips speak for themselves and jump in here and there, but Before I do that, I'd ask you to do just one thing for me. I want you to go out on a walk. Yeah, you can even pause this video. Go out on a walk, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just count how many times you see an advertisement, how many times something is trying to sell you something. And then imagine, just maybe, if even one or two of those things were replaced with art. And that's going to be my only counter argument to what you're about to just see. Let's do this.
So this car's just pulled in and stopped on. Yeah, like it just stopped. Like, can you see it? Let's see. There it is down there. Yeah, but he's looking at our crime scene stuff,
and them as well. Yeah,
as well as like the stoners. That's
yeah,
sitting
maybe
down
he
there.
is stopping for the crime scene. I mean, hopefully we don't literally get caught red-handed.
Yeah, literally.
Behind us, we just risked it. And it's a bunch of like
It's 12-year-olds like having an argument. Here we are ourselves.
They're playing the tunes now.
Oh, there you go. They made up. That's a good time to say, do a bit more vandals, and then we can make our way home.
Maybe on that bench, actually, underneath the bench.
Oh,
so you'd see it.
yeah.
That works fine.
Sound.
Yeah.
Oh,
So while he's doing that, the two kids are playing around. Two massive F-offer jeeps have just appeared. So who knows if that's security. I just can't believe I spelled that the wrong way. Yeah, they're two big F-off jeeps. He writes tiny euro. Two big F-off jeeps. So hopefully I don't just come across a drug deal and this becomes far more of an intense video. But I guess every time will tell. So there you go. Some people in a posh hotel. Probably the celebs. And our beloved O'Sheen typing because he's less dyslexic and dyspraxic than I am. What a legend.
Photo, I've got a video. So we're literally in like the box office right now. So
And also one on the record, right? He wrote that and he wrote,
yeah,
Opus,
right,
and
so
it's
I
coming,
wrote
it's here at an angle,
that,
and I was too
and then-
focused on my own little
yeah,
world.
so we're both in our off little worlds, right? And look at what we've ended up writing. Pretty much near enough the exact same thing.
Man in sync, man.
All in all, I'd say a really good session. Let's get down to that nice big red wall and make a off one down there. Let's go. Okay, don't know if you know that or can see this. Don't think you can. You see that guy moving? He just left frame. Is he? He sees us recording. Yeah, he's just above there. You can see him. Hello. Ooh, big summer blowout. He's coming this way. No, he's not. He's going away again. Okay, either way.
At this moment, O'Sheen was a little too busy in narration mode to realise what was happening. Guy was turning back round and was heading right towards us because he saw us recording. So I got us to start moving ASAP.
Dude was like an NPC.
Back, he does look like an NPC.
Like, man's just walking back and forth and we're outside of his, like, limit. Yeah, may as well. That was well funny, not even gonna try and lie.
An NPC.
Dude was like, I wonder what that noise is.
Walk back and forth, walk back and forth.
Who's there?
Comedy guy.
Perfect. Fucking Skyrim Oblivion NPC because he didn't see a thing. Going. Yeah. Good luck to him, he tries to rub any of that off, too much of it. Trying to pretty solid on the ground there, I scribbled it a few times.
Well, it's only chalk.
Exactly.
What was going to do? We were drawing chalk outside. So
Oh no, so sorry sir, we were messing around as kids again. Yeah. Let it rain tonight and that was on.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way,
If it
the
does rain
old
tonight.
gods are listening, please don't make
Yeah, honestly. Cthulhu, I know we're talking about like waking you up. Don't actually wake up. I know you bring like hurricanes of rain on your wings. Don't. Just don't. Please.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorted. You know, to be honest, if we hadn't done like I'm talking a crud load, I probably would have just let him come talk to us.
Honestly,
we
yeah, we
been
could
like,
have just chatted to him.
what's
like,
up?
What's
But
good, my guy?
We have quite literally got like
All of it done. Yeah, it is all over Comic Con. If it's not noticed,
by tomorrow.
what is happening?
Very disappointing.
Yeah,
Unless they get an entire cleaning crew clean up, and if so, that's
that would
kind
be
of
kind of
full
impressive.
respect to us.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. To be honest, we might do a few things on the outskirts.
Yeah,
as
we
people
can do.
come in and
Oh, I
kinda
mean,
go from there.
right there's a
The
nice one.
outfits, yeah.
There's a nice obelisk.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Right, shit, I haven't zoomed out. Whoopsie. You just been getting up my nose. Right, so there's a nice obelisk. So yeah, awesome sauce.
And as the old saying goes, if there's one security person, there's usually two, and a second one appears.
Just by security.
Guys, and he's like, dude, you're on camera, right? Well, no, we're just playing about with some truck. He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, well, that's fine. I've just been told by my boss, and I was like, oh, I know what that's like. And
Dude.
he shook his hand, and he was a really
Yeah.
lovely, decent dude.
Really sound.
He was like,
Basically,
well, he said
it
you
was
were
just
like
yeah.
graffiti and randomly. I was like, oh, well, it's just chalk.
It's just chalk.
He's like, oh, I
Open
know that, my boss is saying. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
fair enough. Well, it is what it is. So there you go.
Yeah.
He was a lovely dude.
And it was just like,
kind.
yeah.
There you go, that's fine.
Exactly. So long as you're nice to everyone. What's he doing?
ending.
He's just, oh, he's looking around. Oh, yo, the black Jeep was for the vandalism site.
Was the black Jeep for us?
Yes, he's talking to the person in the black Jeep.
Fair enough. No, the black Jeep will probably be for those two guys. They're probably too busy with the two kids.
True.
So that's well. Well,
But
there you go. They've got a big
either
security
way-
van around Albert.
Now we know we've got Albert Docks.
Square.
Yeah. Big time checking out everything now. I think he's talking his
Big
boss
boss.
through everything now.
Well, that's fine.
You know what? Good luck getting that off. There's a lot of it.
Well, and for legal reasons, it will come off. Last thing of the night, couldn't help myself. Look how beautiful the frame this is. Just on our way home, anyway. But yeah. So I'm walking down to see my main man, and I realised we've still got a few finalising bits to on the website, nearly finished this Google form, and I realised as I'm walking away I didn't get any really art stuff for a big sign, so we're going to have to freestyle that a bit. That's another 24-hour show.
Time is now 20 to 1. The Mavros detectives are ready to go. Well, suited, booted, and beanied up.
There's an issue with the form I'm trying to fix.
Issue with the form. Okay, we all recognise this location. We're just back here again. What can we say? Police station.
Flip the camera around.
Just over there.
There we
If you can see it, it's the M&S Bank Arena.
We're heading on in.
That's where we are going.
Yeah.
Very exciting times.
Immediately when we get
This is where we
rugby
get,
tackles,
yeah.
we get
The moment they notice us with cardboard, they'll recognise us. Oh well.
yeah, I mean, we'll take some time and stuff to see how many of these tiny
Yeah.
are still about. I doubt there'll be more. I mean, we did this massive one by the bus station.
Yeah,
there
the
on
one at the
floor.
bus station stuff
It's
completely
still
there.
there,
So that tells me it didn't rain because it was out in the open. So
so yeah. So
if they washed it all away, I'm impressed. Just videoing proof that they did get everything. All of it's gone. Every last bit. Gone. Yeah, respect our claimants, dude.
Game, you know what I mean?
Been approached by some guy that works for Comic Con.
Well, that's the thing though.
That we need to move on.
Security guy was chatting, and he was really lovely. This looks really interesting. And like,
Yeah.
well, I probably couldn't do it. You've confused me, haha.
Yeah.
But like enjoying it. There's other things like
Yes.
these are clickers.
Probably.
That came out really. I mean, like,
Either way,
just when
he
you
wasn't
walk
wearing
away,
security stuff.
It's like move on.
Yeah, just keep
We're
telling
having a
him.
nice conversation. with
Yeah, and I was like,
someone.
it's a
They
public
enjoyed it.
space, and he's like, keep going. I was like, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Maybe it's
Rude.
because of the cardboard issue. I don't
Maybe.
know, homeless something. But even if we aren't, someone's helping us out. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you stop someone from helping homeless? That's just rude. Either way, we're Mavros Paranormal Detective Agency. Pleasure as always. Alrighty, so we made our first sort of pass by Comic Con
A few
goers.
people are taking photos of the actual thing to do it later. Like I said, you can do it on leisure. We've had some hilarious jokes about how with the men in colour rather than the men in black. Someone's like, this sounds like X-Files, and we did the
That's our
American. They were American
American
counterparts.
counterparts.
Yeah. So even if we just had some interaction like that, we made someone's day,
You know
created
what?
a bit of a mystery.
Yeah. Any interaction is decent interaction. Again.
Sorry, quick sign there. So they got rid of pretty much everything, absolutely everything. And I was just went here and there was a couple mystery couple somewhere. This guy's dressed up like a psycho or something. And he's like, oh wait, it's behind you. I can't believe I didn't see that. And we turn around, it's this tiny year old that comes with all the help, and that's the only one that's been left there. And funny enough, it's my one that I wrote really tiny and a bit rubbishly. But I do just wonder if whoever the cleaners were like, whoever these kids were really putting their life, but we'll let him have one. We'll
let them keep one. Let
We'll
them keep one. And of all the places that somebody notices the link, it's as we're standing in front of it.
them anyway.
We've just had some kid and his mum come up
We're
to
walking
us.
away and we're like, we're done for the day.
Yeah.
It might be raining
Time to
soon.
call it, it's gonna
Probably
rain.
thinking about dinner or whatever. Boring.
Yeah, like, oh, what do we
She's
want
like,
for
excuse
food?
me, excuse me. We're like, yeah, here we go. What's it gonna be? It's like,
Yeah,
do
what's
you mind
this
if I get a photo, please? And I hold it up. She's like, do you want the sign in it or not? I'm like, yeah, and the kid's in the middle.
get the sign.
It was nervous if we're like celebrity. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
yeah, that's my
It
day.
was brilliant.
Made my day, yes.
That was lovely.
Yeah.
He was so excited. He's like, you guys on TikTok? He's like, are we? Love that. Amazing.
With that brought the end of day one of our show. As for day two, well, we found that someone we knew was actually at the conference, so we snuck through our signs and a few notes through the gate and gave them a free coffee so they could continue to spread the word of Mavros. We even played about with handing a few people through the gate custom little notes we made just for them, hand out some UGC. Also, a quick side note, but handing out things to people as part of a show actually goes back to text-based games in the 80s, and they used to be called feelies. So if you thought it was a new invention with ARG, there you go. And to finish off, we grabbed a coffee and realised one final thing.
I've just got an idea. Put them in the detective box. That's right.
And as the Mavros Paranormal Detective Agency moved to hide secret notes in detective books at a bookshop, we come to the end of the 24 ARG Challenge. Thank you for anyone who held on for this long. It's like 52 minutes past midnight right now, and I've been editing like a mofo. Actually, I haven't even done the music at this point, but thank you so much. Hope you got something out of this. We're definitely going to keep doing 24-hour challenges. Please like, subscribe, share. Yeah, check out our websites. Come see our shows. Try some of our online work as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. And remember, you can do it if you're willing to lose sleep. Is that how we're summarising? Oh yeah, and do the ARG. I'm going to leave it in the comment box below thing. Do the ARG. Let us know what you think. Cheers.